refers to destructive behaviors like cutting, compulsive scratching, skin picking, or hair pulling. But self-harm isn't always physical. Continually putting others' needs first to the point of burnout is self-harm. Isolating yourself, repeatedly allowing abusive people into your life, canceling doctor's appointments, skipping medications, eating too much or too little are also forms of self-harm. Self-harm is rooted in negative thinking. If self-harming, honestly ask yourself, why am I choosing this behavior? Journal about it. Ultimately, recovery from self-harm is learning to love yourself. So whether you cut, isolate, or struggled with disordered eating, be patient, but seek professional help.
For questions or more resources, text 258-1029.
Wednesday morning here on KSJE, and it's time to take another trip to the Encouragement Lab, and that is where Dr. Mike Hattbaugh is standing by. There he is. Dr. Hattbaugh, good morning.
Good morning, Scott.
Thank you for being with us. And this week we are going to talk a little bit about the emotion of grief, huh?
Yeah, a lot of us are quarantined and we're stuck, and our daily routines are just really traumatically even shifted. We're just doing things different, right?
That's right.
And almost everybody is affected by that. And I want to maybe give you an explanation. If this has kind of been out there in the circuit anyway of what I read, and that is that the primary kind of overall emotion that you're feeling is grief. And once you understand that, then you can process what you're feeling a little better and hopefully make some adjustments that will make a more positive impact in your day-to-day life.
Okay, interesting. And so for a lot of folks who may be listening to us or watching us or maybe wondering about what you just said, because maybe if we haven't suffered a personal loss, yet we're still experiencing grief.
Right, and that's one way to think about this. So if you can remember, if you've lost somebody close to you in your past, you can remember the things that you went through. So Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, 40 years ago now, 50 years ago, discovered that when we grieve a lost loved one, we go through stages. Well, since then, they've discovered that anytime we make a major shift in our life, we usually go through those stages of grief.
Okay.
And I just saw a picture of, there's a list that they've studied of like the 30 most traumatic things that happen to us in our life. And right now, about half or almost 2/3 of those are happening to most of us.
Right,
and
I've always heard
that really magnifies this greatly.
Definitely, I've always heard that losing a job is right up there on one of those things that causes emotions and anxiety and things along that line.
That's a top fiver, yeah.
Right. So, and I imagine it puts a lot of stress on relationships and other things too, right? When these things happen.
All those things, yeah. And we're grieving relationships that we've lost at work. We're hearing about people that are losing their job that maybe we worked with and those kind of things. And so all of those create different stages of grief. And what happens is we walk through those stages, and every person walks through those stages differently. So maybe you remember, say for instance, I think about when one of my grandparents passed away, and I remember that I was processing that differently than my parents were and differently than my siblings were. And so as we go through these stages, and they're, we're not going to take the time today to go through each one,
right?
But they're available. You can go watch great videos. Again, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross is the original person that studied this, but now there's been lots of great information put out on how to deal with that. But I'm just trying to get people to understand that overall pressure and feeling that you're feeling is really the emotion of grief. It's not something you can fix just by hey, if I just keep myself busy, that'll go away. It may for a little bit, but the reality is that's what you're feeling, and so process it that way.
And to do that, Dr. Hattbaugh, what are the more healthy ways to process that? Because I think you're right. I think a lot of us are going through some of these stages. Is there anything that works better than others that you've discovered?
Well, I think the overall thing I would say to people is, give yourself some grace. Allow yourself to mess up more. It's okay. It's okay to be stumbling through this and not feeling like you're getting any traction, and just to let yourself go, we've never gone through this before.
Right.
And that's, to me, the overarching thing. Now, again, dig deeper into your emotions. So some of the things we feel. So first of all, we go into denial. So those people out there on Facebook that are going, this isn't real, this isn't happening, I don't believe it, this is all a bug, right?
Yes.
You know those people.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's stage one of grief. Is
Interesting.
denial, right?
Okay.
And stage two is anger, and a lot of people, same thing, is I'm so angry at all this and this and this. They should have done this and they should have, right? And so that's stage two. So we're just getting into that process.
I see.
Good news, so here's the good news. What I want to end today with this idea that, go study those and realize that whatever emotion you're feeling, there's probably somebody out there that can tell you what to do in that moment. But here's the news that I want to give everybody, is that at the end of this, if you're allowing yourself to process it, all the data shows that when we make it through this, you're going to be a better person because of it. The creativity, the shift, a lot of us are going to find new meaning in our life that we didn't find and we wouldn't have found had we gone through this. And so that's the real positive in this, is when this is all over, most people are going to be better people from it.
Well, that's encouraging.
Very.
I appreciate that. I guess that's why we call it the encouragement lab, isn't it?
Exactly. I love, like I said, so give yourself some space right now. It's okay that things aren't going well, but realize that the good news is that the journey you've been through is going to lead to a better you. Now I'm generalizing. That doesn't mean it'll be true. Some of us are going to need counseling, because grief is something a lot of times you need counseling to get over. But once you've dealt with this, at the far end of this, acceptance is the last stage of grief, is we accept it and we literally kind of make part of who we are, part of what we've gone through. I've already seen these, and this is so true. You know how you and I are of an age where our grandparents and great-grandparents told stories about the Great Depression, right?
That's right.
And we saw their behavior. I mean, what my grandmother could do with tinfoil was amazing.
Right.
Because they learned that during the Great Depression. Well, we've all gone through the Great Quarantine, and so guess what? The generations that come behind us will go, oh, now I see why they're that way.
Right.
They went through the Great Quarantine of 2020. So that's what I'm saying by it will reshape us in a lot of good ways. Now, it may give us some weird quirks too, like saving aluminum foil.
Yeah.
We're never going to handshake again. I think that's one of them.
That could be. You're very, very true about that. Well, Dr. Hattbaugh, it's always good advice and encouraging advice this week. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Dr. Mike Hattbaugh, he is with me every Wednesday from the Encouragement Lab right here on KSJE Farmington.